America's worst monsters didn't appear from nowhere. They were born from the landscapes that shaped them. The cities, the suburbs, the highways, the forgotten places. These are the maps of American nightmares. 10 killers, 10 landscapes, 1 terrifying pattern. Part 1. The Urban Terrors. The city breeds a different kind of monster. One that hides in crowds and hunts in plain sight. San Francisco, 1968. The fog rolled in from the bay every evening. And with it came a phantom who called himself Zodiac. He struck at lovers' lanes under open skies. The city became his chessboard, its people his pawns. He sent cryptic letters to newspapers, taunting investigators. His coded messages promised more victims to come. The fog-shrouded streets held their breath in terror. To this day, his identity remains a mystery. The Zodiac became the urban legend San Francisco never escaped. 2,000 miles south, another city held its breath. Los Angeles, 1985. The summer heat never broke, even at night. And in the darkness, a nightmare prowled the suburbs. They called him the Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez crept through unlocked windows and open doors. He left pentagrams and symbols of satanic worship behind. The City of Angels became a city of fear. Residents bought locks, guns, and guard dogs. Neighborhood watch groups formed on every block. But the terror continued through the sweltering summer. Until one morning, his face appeared on every television. The city recognized him, and the hunt began. He was captured by an angry mob in East LA. The Night Stalker's reign of terror was over. Part 2. The Suburban Nightmares. The American dream promised safety behind white picket fences. But some nightmares lived in the house next door, where monsters mowed lawns and waved to neighbors. Des Plaines, Illinois, 1978. John Wayne Gacy was a respected member of the community. He threw neighborhood block parties and dressed as Pogo the Clown. Children loved him. Adults trusted him completely. But beneath his house, a horror was hidden. 29 bodies were buried in the crawl space below. The smell was explained away as moisture and decay. Neighbors never suspected the killer among them. When the truth emerged, the community was shattered. The suburban dream revealed its darkest nightmare. 1,500 miles west, another suburban monster waited. Wichita, Kansas, 1974. A killer who called himself BTK began his campaign. Bind, torture, kill. He signed his letters with pride. He was a church usher, a Boy Scout leader, a father, a husband, a compliance officer. He installed security systems to protect his neighbors. For 31 years, he hid in plain sight. The prairie kept his secrets buried deep, until his ego demanded recognition once more. He sent a floppy disk to the television station. The metadata betrayed him in minutes. The suburban ghost was finally given a face. Dennis Rader, the neighbor no one suspected. The flatlands of Kansas would never feel safe again. Part 3. The Rural Phantoms. Beyond the cities and suburbs lies forgotten America, where distance means privacy, and privacy breeds secrets. Here, the monsters could work undisturbed. Plainfield, Wisconsin, 1957. Ed Gein lived alone on his family farm. The neighbors called him quiet, shy, and harmless. But inside his farmhouse, a nightmare waited. When police finally entered, they found hell. Items made from human remains filled every room. The nation recoiled in shock and disbelief. This became the blueprint for modern horror. Psycho, Texas Chainsaw, Silence of the Lambs. All born from that isolated Wisconsin farm. The rural nightmare that changed American culture forever. 2,000 miles south, another rural phantom emerged. The highways of Florida, 1989. Aileen Wuornos lived on the margins of society. A drifter surviving on the kindness of strangers. But kindness had long ago abandoned her. She turned the tables on those who stopped. 7 men died along Florida's forgotten roads. The first known female serial killer in modern America. She claimed they attacked her first. But the courts showed no mercy. The highway claimed her in the end. In the Pacific Northwest, rivers carried dark secrets. Seattle, Washington, 1982. Gary Ridgway worked as a truck painter. A family man who lived in a modest house. But he prowled the SeaTac Strip every night. He hunted the vulnerable and the forgotten. Their bodies appeared in the river and the woods. For 20 years, the Green River ran with grief. 49 confirmed victims, likely many more. The most prolific serial killer in American history. until DNA technology finally gave the dead a voice. In 2003, the Green River Killer was caught. The forests of Washington would remember forever. But before all of them, there was one who started it all. Chicago, 1893. The World's Fair brought millions to the city. A celebration of progress, innovation, and the future. But nearby, Dr. H. Holmes had built something different. A hotel designed specifically for murder. Soundproof rooms, hidden staircases, secret passages. Gas lines piped into sealed chambers. An incinerator in the basement to erase evidence. It became known as the Murder Castle. Young women came seeking jobs at the World's Fair. Many checked into his hotel and were never seen again. Holmes was charming, educated, and utterly remorseless. The exact number of victims remains unknown. Some estimates reached 200 souls. He was caught attempting insurance fraud. The true horror was discovered only after his arrest. America's first documented serial killer. The Murder Castle burned down years later. But the legend of H. Holmes lives on. A century later, another kind of horror emerged. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 1991. Jeffry Dahmer lived in a quiet apartment building. Neighbors complained about strange smells and sounds. The building manager explained it away as bad plumbing. But the truth was far more horrifying. 17 young men disappeared into that apartment, until one victim escaped and found police. What they found inside defied comprehension. Milwaukee's industrial landscape had hidden profound evil. The city struggled to understand what had lived among them. The Oxford apartments were demolished in 1992, but the scars on Milwaukee remain. While Dahmer hunted in the industrial Midwest, another killer roamed the West. The college towns and ski resorts of the Rockies. Ted Bundy was the charming law student everyone trusted. He volunteered at crisis centers and political campaigns. Young women saw him as helpful, safe, and attractive. But he used that trust to lure them to isolated places. From Washington to Utah to Colorado to Florida. He crossed state lines, making him nearly impossible to track. The mountains and forests became his hunting grounds. At least 30 victims, likely many more. His trials became media circuses, televised nationwide. He defended himself, charming the cameras until the end. But the evidence from multiple states finally convicted him. The mountain communities would never feel quite as safe again. While Bundy hunted in mountain towns, the cities faced their own terrors. Los Angeles in the 1980s was a city of dreams. But the summer of '85 brought a waking nightmare. The night stalker entered homes while families slept. He left pentagrams spray-painted on walls, and a trail of terror that lasted 14 months. The city that never slept now feared the darkness. Hardware stores sold out of locks and security systems. Families barricaded windows and slept in shifts. The police formed a task force of 50 detectives. But the killers seemed to strike at random, without pattern. Rich neighborhoods and poor, east side and west side alike. Then a survivor saw his face and lived to testify. His photograph appeared on the front page of every newspaper. Los Angeles became a city of 8 million detectives. He was recognized stepping off a bus in East LA. The neighborhood chased him through the streets. Community justice caught what the police could not. The city exhaled for the first time in 14 months. But in Kansas, another killer was just getting started. Wichita, Kansas, January 1974. The Otero family was found murdered in their home. For victims, including 2 children. Wichita had never seen such calculated cruelty. Then the killer sent a letter to the newspaper. He called himself BTK. Bind, torture, kill. He claimed responsibility and promised more. Wichita lived in fear for the next 3 years. Then, suddenly, the letters stopped. Years passed. 5, 10, 15, 20. The case went cold, but was never closed. Dennis Rader lived a quiet life in Park City. He was a compliance officer for Park City government, a church council president respected by all. He measured grass height and cited code violations. Neighbors found him annoying but harmless. But in 2004, the killer's ego awakened. He wanted recognition for murders 30 years old. He began sending letters and packages again, each one a taunt to law enforcement. He asked if a floppy disk could be traced. Police told him no, it couldn't. He trusted them and sent a disk. It contained metadata from Christ Lutheran Church and a document created by Dennis Rader. 30 years of hiding ended with a single file property. He was arrested in the parking lot of his office. The BTK Killer was revealed as the mild-mannered compliance officer. The community he terrorized and the community he served were one. Kansas learned that monsters could live anywhere. 10 killers, 10 landscapes, one terrifying truth. The horror was never random. It grew from the landscapes that shaped it. The fog of San Francisco concealed the Zodiac. The sprawl of Los Angeles gave Ramirez endless hunting grounds. The suburbs promised safety but delivered false comfort. The prairies of Kansas hid secrets in plain sight. The rural isolation of Wisconsin and Florida offered perfect cover. The highways became anonymous corridors of death. The forests of Washington swallowed evidence for decades. Each landscape enabled and concealed in its own way. But these places also produced the heroes who stopped them. The same communities that bred monsters bred their hunters. San Francisco developed profiling techniques, hunting the Zodiac. Los Angeles pioneered community policing against the Night Stalker. Kansas learned that ego defeats even the most careful killer. Washington's Green River case revolutionized DNA evidence. Every landscape tells two stories. One of darkness and one of the light that follows. The cities rebuilt their trust. The suburbs learned to look beyond the surface. The rural communities found strength in isolation. These landscapes are no longer defined by those who haunted them, but by those who survived and rebuilt. The maps of American nightmares became maps of resilience. Every crime scene is now a memorial. Every investigation room is now a classroom. Every victim remembered became a life that demanded change. The landscapes remain beautiful and complex. San Francisco's fog still rolls in from the bay. Los Angeles still shimmers under endless summer heat. The Kansas prairie still stretches to forever. The suburban lawns still grow green in summer. The forests of the Northwest still stand ancient and strong. But now we walk these landscapes with knowledge, aware that evil can hide anywhere, but also that goodness is everywhere too. The maps have been redrawn, not by monsters, but by those who fight them, by victims who became survivors, by families who turned grief into advocacy, by communities that refuse to be defined by trauma. These American nightmares taught us vigilance without paranoia. They showed us that isolation enables evil, and that connection is our greatest protection. The landscapes of evil became landscapes of learning, teaching us to build better, safer, more connected communities. These 10 killers are gone, but the landscapes they haunted remain ours. To rebuild, to remember, and to protect. The American landscape is vast and varied. And now, we walk it together, watching over each other. These maps of nightmares became maps of hope, because we chose not to let evil define our landscapes. We chose to reclaim them with courage and community, and that makes all the difference. Remember the victims, honor the survivors, protect the future. These are our landscapes now. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment the next video topic in the comments.